All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a massive, and I mean massive, bet being made in the mortgage world by a company called AmeriTrust. So get this. Right now, AmeriTrust Mortgage is pulling in about $175 million in business every single month. Now, for most of us, that sounds pretty incredible, right? But for them, that's just the warm-up. Yeah, they're not just looking to nudge that number up a little bit. No, they are gunning for some serious, explosive growth. And they've got a super specific and honestly kind of gutsy plan to make it happen.
And here it is. This is the big, shiny number they're chasing. $500 million a month. That is the goal. I mean, that's a gigantic leap, especially in the kind of market we're in right now.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth does a mortgage company even plan to grow that fast right now? What's the secret sauce? Well, let's break down their playbook.
Okay, so their game plan really boils down to two key moves. And it all kicks off by zeroing in on this, surprisingly overlooked corner of the mortgage world called the non-QM niche.
So, you might be asking, what the heck is non-QM? Well, think of it this way. These are loans for people who are totally solid borrowers, but they just don't fit into that neat little W-2 employee box. We're talking about the self-employed, entrepreneurs, gig economy workers, real estate investors, folks whose income is absolutely real. It just doesn't show up on a standard paycheck every 2 weeks.
And how are they going to get their hands on all these loans? That's part 2 of the plan, something called the Correspondent channel. Now, instead of trying to make every single loan themselves, which is slow, AmeriTrust is going to act like a giant wholesale buyer. They'll just buy up huge batches of these non-QM loans from smaller lenders who've already done the legwork. It's a classic way to scale up and fast.
So you see how it fits together? You dive headfirst into this non-QM niche, and then you use the Correspondent channel to just gobble up loans at a massive scale. The goal here isn't just to ride the wave, it's to straight up take market share from the competition. It's aggressive.
All right, but a plan this big, this bold, it needs a real pro to pull it off. Someone who knows this space like the back of their hand. And AmeriTrust, they think they've found their guy.
And that person is Shea Palante. He's been brought in as the new Chief Revenue Officer, and basically his entire job is to turn that $500 million a month dream into a reality.
And when you glance at his resume, it's pretty clear why they picked him. I mean, this is not his first rodeo. He is a total veteran in the non-QM space. He's had top jobs at some of the biggest players, Arc Home, Civic Financial, you name it. He's literally built these kinds of operations from scratch before.
And this quote really gets to the heart of his strategy. For Palante, he says it's not just about the transaction. It's not just about buying and selling loans. He sees it as a true partnership with those smaller lenders. And he thinks that focus, that relationship-first approach, is the secret weapon that's going to let them crush the competition.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there? This is where the story takes a pretty dramatic turn. Because if you look really closely at that resume, one name on there, well, it comes with some serious baggage.
Yeah, in what seems like a pretty solid plan, there's this one little catch. A ghost from not too long ago, actually. The whole thing circles back to his time as the president of a company called Sprout Mortgage. What happened there?
And here's the kicker. Back in 2022, the non-QM market basically hit a brick wall, and Sprout Mortgage, with Palante at the helm as president, was one of the biggest names to go down. They didn't just stumble, they collapsed, shut their doors for good. So that raises a huge question, right? Is the guy they just hired to lead this massive non-QM charge the same guy who was in charge when another company failed in the exact same space?
Well, as you can imagine, Palante has an answer for that. He argues that what went down in 2022, it wasn't a problem with the non-QM loans themselves. He says it was just a symptom of a crazy, once-in-a-generation shock to the market.
His take? The problem wasn't bad borrowers or risky loans. In fact, he says the product, the loans themselves, they've always performed really well. The real issue, he claims, was that interest rates just skyrocketed out of nowhere. Suddenly, all those low-rate loans they were holding became basically worthless overnight. It was a cash flow problem, a liquidity crisis, not a problem with people defaulting on their loans.
And he's very, very quick to draw a thick line in the sand between today's non-QM loans and those infamous subprime loans from the 2008 crisis. He's basically saying, hey, these are two totally different animals. The borrowers today are nothing like they were back then.
I mean, for starters, just look at the numbers. The average credit score for these non-QM borrowers, it's over 740. Now, to put that in perspective, that's not just good, that's considered very good or even excellent. We're talking prime borrower territory here, not subprime.
And on top of that, the loans themselves are just safer. The average loan to value is about 71%. What that means is the average borrower is putting down almost 30% in cash. They've got serious skin in the game. This is a world away from the zero-down, high-risk stuff we saw years ago.
So that brings us right back to the big bet. You've got AmeriTrust, and they're looking at their new leader's deep expertise on one side and the shadow of his past failure on the other, and they've decided to push all their chips into the middle of the table.
This visual really drives it home, doesn't it? They're not just trying to creep up from $175 million. No, they are betting the entire future of the company on this one massive leap, a nearly 300% jump to $500 million a month, all riding on this one single strategy.
And that leaves us with the final $500 million question. Is this a genius move to dominate a profitable niche, led by an expert who learned from his mistakes? Or are they just whistling past the graveyard, ignoring the lessons of 2022? In the high-stakes game of mortgage finance, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.